Alright guys, today's a retrofit video for our Buick. We're going to convert it over to 134a so we can drive it in the heat and not have to burn up. So I gotta get the hood up and we'll get started on this little project. I need to wash it. Got tree sap all over my car from sitting under this tree. Don't really like that too much. Alright, so I got my panel off. It's in the back seat. Have to have that off because there's your charge port for your low side. Your high side's over here by the battery. So I was doing some poking around on this the other day, and as soon as I take that cap off, you're going to hear it hissing because it still has some R-12 left in it. But the Schrader valve's screwed up. So I had to go get this right here. It's your Schrader valve tool. So this takes care of R-12 and R-134a Schrader valves, I hope. Okay. So the valve's in there crooked. You might hear it in a minute. See, you can hear it hissing. A lot of times the part on the inside goes bad, the rubber. I don't think there's enough Freon in here to make a difference. But we do need to get this. Yeah, there's very little. Because the valve's about to come out. There's your valve. And you can see that the rubber is actually not very good in it. So check your port, make sure your port's good, and we can go ahead and put the new Schrader valve in, which I have over here. Maybe. Yep, I do. I've got a replacement Schrader valve. So here's your retrofit kit. Let me get in here real quick and we'll get our high side valve out, which is this one right here. We'll get that dropped in the hole and we'll get it tightened up, and then we'll show you how we adapt this for 134a. The kit that you want for this car is this one here. The reason being is because you see that fitting right there with the cap on it. It's got the large end that goes over the high side port right here. So also on these seals, you want to put a little bit of PAG oil on these seals. PAG 46 is all I have, so that's all I used on it. So we'll put that back together and we'll send that back. Something you're going to need. We're going to need this. This car requires an ester oil charge, so that's what we got. Your receiver dryer has your tag on it so that you know how much charge to put in. Now there are some people that say there's an equation for that. I don't remember what the equation was, but I'm just going to add what I got. I got a pound here. I'll get another pound when I go into town later. It takes 2.87 pounds. As long as the AC kicks on and I get somewhat cold for right now, I'll be happy with it. So we need to switch those leads over, or we need to put our adapters on for our 134a. Make sure that if you have new Schrader valves that you change these out, because we got to do a vacuum down on the system, and so if you do have a leak, it's going to be from the old Schrader valves. I've already replaced the ones in the system off camera, so we're ready to go. Let me go grab a knife real quick. We'll cut this box open and we'll start putting some fittings on. Go ahead and open this up. Yeah, you want to make sure that you get it for the application of your vehicle, because GM changed the lines, and the service information tells you this as well. They changed the lines because the service ports looked identical. And on R-12, it's just like 134a, where you had to, this should be our low side port. I will double check it in a minute. See if it fits. Yeah, okay, we'll just leave that hanging loose right there for a minute. Let's grab our high side port. See, this is the port that comes in that Murray kit, but the problem is, as you can see, I have a male end, not a female end. So I have to use a different fitting for this car. And of course, I will clean the label off here, and I will put this label on there, even though nobody ever is going to service this car but me. So, you know. So let me show you this goofy little thing right here. You probably saw it in the last video, but or the last part of this video. And zoom you over here real quick. There's our port right there, and the view right here. Zoom in just a little bit so you can see it. There's our port. Okay, you see how it's got that big on the bottom and it's small on the top? That's how they changed the port, because it looked identical to the other one. Now you see how this is shaped right here? It's shaped to fit over that. So let me show you how that works. Now my leak was on the Schrader valve on the high side. So I went out and I got a new Schrader valve. If you notice, this is just an adapter. This has, you have to use the Schrader valve that goes with this kit, so, or with that piece. So let me zoom this back so you can see what we're doing here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of my PAG 46 and I'm just going to pour it down inside the threads, and it's going to make contact with that O-ring. See that? You want to put a little bit of oil on the O-ring, and you're not. See that? And then you can take and pour the rest of it back in here. I put my finger over the hole because that's just a natural thing I do. Sometimes it'll work for you. You'll end up with a little bit of oil on your finger, but you know, it's just mineral oil, so it'll be fine. All right, and then you want to find out what size that fitting is so you can tighten it down appropriately. So let me go look that up real quick and I'll be right back. All right, so this is a 17 millimeter. So how this works is we're just going to screw this down on top of that fitting like that. And we're going to tighten it down with our socket. Hopefully it'll reach, because I don't know if it'll reach or not. Nope, it won't. I need to go get my deep 17 out of my impact box. I'll be right back. Alright, so I got it on my adapter here. We're going to use our 3/8 drive ratchet. We're just going to run that down until it stops turning, and then we're going to snug it, because it says something about 7 foot-pounds. So that's about snug. Look at that. We have a high side port. We're going to test it out here in a minute, because we're going to try it out and see what we got. So we got our high side port taken care of. So let's go over here. Let's go over to our low side port, which I think is the same size socket. It is. Okay, good. All right, so the low side port, we're going to screw that on like that. Now the only problem I think I might have is putting my fuse box access cover back on. Oh, hang on a minute. We didn't oil those threads up. We didn't oil that fitting up. And we got to put a little bit of oil on that seal right there so we can make sure that that doesn't go on dry. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. I should be doing this with you guys here. I'm trying to make a video here. Alright. So you put a little bit in there like that, and then you pour the rest back out. Like that. Now your O-ring is nice and lubricated, and it's going to seal now. Set this back in here like this. Run it down by hand till you can't anymore, and then you take your socket and you tighten it up. And like you did on the high side, you just snug it. There we go. We'll know if it leaks when we put the vacuum on it. Alright, so now we gotta get the vacuum on it. So I'm gonna put my brand new caps on my fittings here. These are my new caps. And I'm gonna take the car and I'm gonna take it over to the air compressor, which is over at the tool shed. So when we meet up again here in about 10 seconds, or less, look at that. I'll show you this. Look at that, we got a high side or a low side cap now. So I'm gonna meet you guys over at the lube bay, bay 3. That's where the air compressor lives. We will get this thing started on a vacuum, and then tell you what happens next. So I'll be right back. All right, we're all set to go. I just got to grab my gauges. All right, so here's our gauges. I'm gonna hook them onto this little attachment here for the hood. So let's see, we're gonna go ahead and pull our can tap down. We're not gonna need that. I'm going to, actually we need to take the can tap off because I need that fitting for the vacuum pump. This thing's usually a huge pain in the neck to get off of here, so let me go grab some pliers real quick. This is how I usually do it, except I have a pair of channel locks that I use. You gotta hold the base like that because this thing wants to come apart on you. You can take your other pliers and you just kind of twist like that, it comes apart. Not a big fan of this can tap. This is my second one. I've already had to replace it once because it came apart on me. So let me grab our vacuum pump that's over here off the side of the screen here. This is what we're using. It's actually a really good little device here. So we gotta zero our gauges down first before we hook this to the car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just plug this in for just a second. We're going to open up our gauges. We got to zero our gauges down. And then once we get our gauges zeroed, then we can go ahead and vacuum down the system. You can make sure you're in frame here so we can see what we're doing. You are not, of course. So we're going to zoom you in just a little bit so you can see those gauges. I'm going to plug this in. We're going to zero the gauges down, and then when we get them zeroed, then I'll hook them to the car. I'll show you how we do that. So, alright, so this thing runs off of air pressure. So as soon as I plug this in, you're going to hear this thing suck down. You're going to see the gauges move. So, here we go. There we go. Well, gotta do that again. There we go. Might need to get a new set of gauges here soon. Alright, we'll close our gauges. They're about as zeroed as they're going to get. We got some really bad weather around here, so. Alright, so our blue gauge is going to hook to our receiver dryer over here next to the firewall. So I will unplug that and plug that onto this side. There's that one. We'll go ahead and crank that up. Make sure that we're working on that side. And we'll go ahead and take our high side loose over here. We'll hook our high side line up to that. Alright, we're going to vacuum this sucker down. So here we go. Now it looks like the best we're going to get 14 inches. It's supposed to be 29. let's go ahead and hold our valve. We're about 14 inches. Supposed to be at 29, but the system doesn't want to go down that far, so we're going to go ahead and just leave it. We'll come back in a half an hour and we'll check it out and see what we got. At this point, we don't want it to get anywhere on the other side of the 10, because if that happens, we have a leak. We're going to have to address it. So. I'm sorry you can't see the gauges very well, but well, maybe I can do something about that. Give me a second. Alright, now you can see the gauges. See where the gauges are? We need it to be closer to 30, but given our altitude and everything, that's the best we're going to get. So we'll be back in about a half an hour. It's 4 o'clock now, so about 4:30 I'll come back out. We'll check this system and we'll go ahead and start pressurizing it. So we'll be back in a little bit. Alright, it's been about 2 hours. I had to babysit my grandson for a little bit, so let's see what the gauge says. Hasn't moved an inch since we did it earlier, so I think we're safe. So I'm going to set you over here on the other side of the car. We're going to go ahead and get our oil and our Freon, and we're going to fire up the car and see what we can do here. I'll try to get you the best view I can of the gauges, but if I can't, we'll see what we can do. I'll zoom this in a little bit more so we can. Alright, so we got to put our can tap back on. Alright, so I got our can of refrigerant and our ester oil charge. I'm going to put the gauge, our thermometer, outside temperature is about 84 degrees, so I'm going to put this in the car. I'll let you know what it says. Make any difference. Alright, so let's go ahead and let our vacuum off. That sounds good. I like that. When you can hear the vacuum come off the tank, that's excellent. That means we are in good shape. Now I'm thinking the only reason this thing quit doing AC was because that Schrader valve on the high side was bad, but I don't know. What I do know is that we need to rearrange how these hoses are, because if we keep them like they are, I'm going to lose my low side hose into the alternator belt. We got to tighten up the can tap. Ow. Get our air hose out of the way so that we don't have that bother us. See if I can get my gauges to be towards you guys so that you can see what we're doing. We're going to roll that over like that, keep that out of the way. Alright, so we're going to take our can tap. We're going to install the oil first. So I'm going to start the car up. This has the electronic climate control, so you want to set it to auto. Temperature all the way down to 60, turn it on auto. Let the fan do auto stuff. It's going to be how you're going to do this. So let me start the car up. I'll try to keep the gauges in the view, but if I can't, you know, I don't want to. Well, we'll just see what we can do. So, all right. We'll start the car up and see if we can get this sucker cold. Now you want to hear for the clicking. Matter of fact, how about I take you to the other side so you can see what we're doing. I'll zoom back here so you can see what we're doing. Alright, you can see the gauge is a little better that way. Got our ester oil right here. We're going to go ahead and just open this up. Close our valve. We gotta open this up so we can get the stuff in it. There we go. Throwing some charge in it. Look at that. I'm going to put this whole can of ester oil in here. You hear the engine change. That means the air compressor is getting ready to kick on. Alright, we're going to go ahead and close the system down and change our cans out. We've got a little bit of a leak right here on our can cap. I'm going to close that up. We want to tighten up our can cap before we kick on our R-134a so that we don't lose any coolant. When you take these cans off, turn it away from you. Alright, so we'll let the ester oil run for a minute while I get my other pair of pliers to tighten up that can cap. Pressure pretty good. I gotta tighten up the can cap. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and hook our can of Freon to it. I only have one. System calls for two, so I'll have to do a top off later. Alright, here we go. I'm gonna kick our gauges on here in about 2 seconds. We're gonna open up our valve here. We're going to go ahead and kick our can open here. And we're going to let her rip tater chip. There it goes. Taking it. Up, there we go. Our compressor just kicked on. It works. I'm going to show you how the compressor's doing. Probably see it down there. Look at that. You can hear it clicking and spinning. That's what we want. And what we're looking for on our gauge is to make sure that this thing she's taking the pressure. We'll open up our high side to get a view of what we're looking at on our high side. Now, like I said, only got a can here, so when this can's empty, that's all I got. It's getting better. go. That was a good one. Alright, our can's full, so we're going to go ahead and close our valves. I'm going to go ahead and now she's gonna do this for a while because she's trying to get her pressure set. Alright, so let's get in the car and see what the car's doing. Let's see if it feels cold in here. It's getting cold. Yeah. It's getting cold. I can feel cold. Let's see what our temperature gauge says. Temperature gauge is coming down. She's about 70 something, so she definitely needs another can. But I think we could call this a success. I'm going to go ahead and shut it off. Go ahead and shut her down. I'm going to get another can of Freon and I'm going to top it off camera, but we're going to go ahead and shut it down so we can get some static pressures. So this is what you do for static pressures right here. So we're looking at about 94, 93, 94 on the low side here. Let me show you our static pressures for today. That should be about right. So the next step is I'm going to put the caps back on it. We need to go ahead and close our valves and unhook our valves from our system. We're going to just unhook them like this. I don't know why you're not looking down like that. Again, I'm sorry about my angles. Again, when you take your Freon can off of here, you want to open this up like this, take it all the way back, and then slowly release it. You're going to get a little bit of pressure off the can. That's to be expected. If your valves are off, if your manifolds are off, you're not getting anything out of the lines. So we can go ahead and do this. All right. That can is empty. It took the whole can with no problem. So let me see if I have any more for you. I don't. So I'll have to get another can. So this car, let's recap, and then we're going to call it done for the day. So let's go ahead and pull our fitting off our high side. I hate this part. Alright, there's that. We take our high side cap, which is this one here. It says H on it. Put our high side cap on here like this. Then we need to unscrew our low side cap. Here's the part I'm concerned about, is whether or not I can get my cover back on. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and take the cap off that side. This is our low side cap right here. It says L on it. That goes on there like that. Alright, now this here is going to be your information, except it's going to be for 134A because this is no longer an R-12 car. So, but like I said earlier, I'm not expecting anybody else to service this car because it'll be serviced by me for the rest of its life. Okay, and if in the event that it outlives me, then whoever gets it next will probably by default figure out that I've retrofitted it, because they'll see the tags there, or they'll see the fittings. Alright, so I will do something though. Alright, we gotta do this part here. Alright, we gotta, let me set you guys down, because this is going to take two hands to do, because apparently it's being difficult again. Alright. There's supposed to be a thumb screw that goes, yeah, thumb screw is supposed to go on that tab right there. But it's been gone for a long time. Long enough that I don't even know what happened to it. And then this cable here, Oh, look at that. We could probably do our 134A without having to take this cover off ever again. Let's see if I can get you guys in the frame. Yeah, I got a thing over here I gotta lock. There we go. Let me show you our upgrade. I don't know if you can see it very well, but I'm going to move you into position here. See that? That's our new port. It sticks out far enough we don't even have to take that fuse panel off anymore. In the R-12 version, we had to take that panel off every time we needed to charge the Freon. So let me do something here for you guys, so that there's no question about what we did here today. Because this cap is permanent to this car. I'm going to go get some stuff, and we're going to write R-134 and today's date on here. That way, if anybody comes across this in the future, they're going to say, hey, this was done on this date. So let me go get some stuff. I'll be right back. Alright, I took some of our glass cleaner. I cleaned off a spot right here on the fuse box cover, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to write R-134a, and then today's date 7/8/25, and then we're going to put 24 ounces. I think that's what it calls for. That's 2 pounds, but we're not going to put that on there until we know for sure. So now we got to clean up our mess. So what do you do with your old caps? Set them in your glove box. They are now conversation pieces. That's what I do with them. I'm gonna put them in my glove box. So that'll do it for this episode. We have successfully converted our car over from R-12 to 134A, which is a long time coming because I love this car and I like driving it and I enjoy going places in it. But when it's really hot out like it has been here in Indiana, it's a little hard to drive it when, you know, it's blazing hot. Plus, when we do the walk around video, which we're going to be doing here soon, I'm going to show you one of the reasons why we need to keep the windows up. So anyhow, thank you for watching. Hope this is helpful. If you have any questions or comments, put the link down below, or ask me down below. We're working on merchandise. We've got $2.99 memberships. If you like what you see here and you want to help the channel and help me, $2.99 a month. As soon as I start seeing subscribers or memberships, I'll start releasing videos early for you guys so you get to see it before everybody else does. So anyhow, I'm going to wrap up here and I will see you guys on the next one.